Thank you very much. So I welcome you all to Women for Sustainability Stories. And we are all here again for the third edition for Women for Sustainability Stories. And this is a virtual series that aims to amplify women's voices, experiences, and stories in the effort to promote sustainability, especially environmental sustainability. So, as we aim to promote sustainable practices, we look forward to inspiring positive actions and encouraging continuous growth in the field of sustainability. My name is Anita Ofori, and I'm the co founder for Women for Sustainability Africa. So, today, on our third edition of this series, we are honored to have with us a remarkable guest who has been doing amazing work within the climate space, and she's in the person of Louisa Kabobah, as was mentioned earlier. So let me just give you a little profile about Louisa before we give her the platform. So Louisa is a result-driven manager, and that she has 7 years of extensive knowledge in developing and implementing sustainability projects, and she aligns with the organizational objectives. So specifically, she has contributed to successful implementation of 100 plus projects on biodiversity conservation, climate change, and circular economy. She holds an MPhil degree in climate change and sustainable development and a BSc in zoology, all from University of Ghana. In her free time, she enjoys volunteering for community projects, spending quality time with friends and family, and exploring Accra. So Louisa also assists organization in building a strong online presence through social media management. Before I give Louisa the platform, I would like to acknowledge our supporting partners. We have 10 Billion Strong, who is a leadership development organization focused on environmental sustainability. You want to learn more about them, you can always Google them, and they give free scholarship for you to be able to study. We have Wiki Updates. They are currently hosting us on Zoom. It's also a podcast if you want to know more about them and what's happening within the Wikimedia ecosystem. We have Wiki Green Initiative. They are the organizers for Wiki Green Conference. So you may also want to follow us if you haven't followed us yet on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and we have a WhatsApp group as well. And our name is Women for Sustainability. So once again, I would want to take the opportunity to welcome Louisa. Louisa, you're welcome to this platform, and we're happy to have you.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone.
Good evening. We are so happy to have you. I hope you're excited to be on the platform with us.
Yeah, Anita, personally, I'm really excited to be here. It's only been a month since I joined the UN for Sustainability Africa. And I'm glad to be part of this series, and I'm hoping this engagement will be exciting, it to be really interesting and engaging. Everyone may just amuse themselves and speak if they need any clarification on anything, so that we can have a fruitful discussion at the end of the day. So yes, thank you so much for the platform, and I'm grateful.
Oh, you're welcome, Louisa. We are here to share knowledge. So you're welcome once again. So all of us, we are here today, and we're going to have a very interesting conversation about plastic waste management. And Louisa is going to give us a lot of insights to that. So Louisa, let me just
Yeah,
ask. So let me just ask. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself again? I know I gave the introduction. If you could give us a little bit about yourself and your passion, your journey. So share
so
your
for
journey
me,
with us. Yeah.
so it hasn't been so smooth. I mean, growing up, we all had our childhood ambitions, and mine, when I was young, my the career I was hoping to get involved in, or the career I was hoping to build a strong presence for, I wanted to become interesting. So when I got into senior high school, um, I enrolled in the general science program, and then my interests diverted a bit. So along the line, and I hope I know this will be quite interesting for some of us. So along the line, I wanted to be an astronaut. Can you imagine that? I was like, oh, I think this is a fascinating, career path. So why not delve into astronomy? And then I found physics to be very difficult. I mean, I couldn't really wrap my head around the theories and all the formulas around physics. So I'm like, okay, let me see how best I can evolve again along the line. So after senior high school, I gained admission to the University of Ghana to read biological science. Initially, my interest was for biochem. That's a story for another day. So along the line, I got into zoology, and I think a year or two into the program, the name was changed to conservation science. And I think the interest for me in sustainability and biodiversity conservation and wildlife management started from that when I was in level 300, especially topics around climate change. I felt it was an easy peasy, like you don't have to read so much to understand the issues. That's one thing about environmental, management. You don't really have to read or understand certain concepts into detail before you can take action. So I was like, okay, this seems very interesting, and at the same time, it's creating that positive impact amongst communities, because I found climate change to be very interesting, looking at the effects, the impacts, and what people are doing in their space to minimize the effects of global warming. I felt this was quite fascinating. So right after school, I was opportune to continue my national service with the university, and um, I was attached to a supervisor. So along the line, he introduced me to a program, which was the climate change and sustainability program. He actually encouraged me to apply for the scholarship, and he believed in me that I could make it to the program. So God being so good, everything went well. I got through, and that was how my journey into climate change started. And then right after national service, the same professor, he's actually called Professor Wusu, Erasmus Wusu. He's with the University of Ghana climate change, but now he's now with the conservation science department. So when I was done, like all of us, we are done with service, we are a bit confused, you don't know where to go or where to turn to. So I reached out to him and I was like, okay, we are done with service. Can you recommend a place where I can start something? And he recommended my first official role, that was being a project officer for conservation at Ghana Wildlife Society. So that's where I started my career. It's been full of ups and downs, especially when you are a lady in the field of conservation. It's not so easy, especially times when you have to visit local communities, getting local communities to understand the need to protect natural resources and taking actions to conserve, our forests and other biodiversity resources that we have around them. So it hasn't been so easy being a lady in the space. We go to certain communities and I'm sure most of us in Ghana would understand. So sometimes they are like, oh, we won't talk to you unless you come with a woman. Sorry, unless you come with a man. You need a leader that is a man to listen to and all that. So it's been a bit challenging, but interesting. And from biodiversity conservation to sustainability, the interest for sustainability emerged when along the line, I felt I had um, impacted, in terms of the field, biodiversity conservation, I had done my part and I had been with the organization for 5 years and it was time to move on. So I chanced on a job ad and it was on the circular economy. I was like, okay, this also seems interesting. At Ghana Wildlife Society, we also embarked on a number of circular economy projects. Okay, why not delve into this new terrain and see what the future holds for me? So that's how I found myself in the circular economy space. And it's been quite interesting. I mean, when we talk about sustainability, it's not just about climate change, but it encompasses anything that has to do with the environment, inclusivity, and governance around environmental issues. So be it climate change, be it biodiversity conservation, pollution, any other thing we deal in space. That has been it for me. It's 6 years, 6 to 7 years now. So quite interesting.
Yeah, very. Because listening to you, this is a very interesting journey. With I believe you've built a lot of capacity. Looking at what you've done right from school to present time. So you did mention about having challenges as a woman in the field of conservation. Can you show more light into it?
Okay, so let me cite an example. So a couple of years back, we had to conduct surveys on marine mammals and sea turtles along the entire stretch of Ghana. So we're working all the way from Keta to Halfasem. And this involved interacting with communities, fishing communities, especially the fishermen and the fisher folks around. And to get um, the fishermen to understand whatever you have for them, because we needed to collect data on the types of species that they find when they go out to fish, so that we can draw an inference for um, in terms of historical data on the types of whales and other types of mammals and sea turtles that we find along the shore. And then we needed to engage with the associations. We know we have these fishermen associations and groups, and these are headed by men, obviously. Um, the fisher folks we have in Ghana are mostly men. So you would have to first meet the chief fisherman, speak to him, you go with your team, you speak to him. So that was what we did. And I was the lead on that project because it was focused on community engagement and administering questionnaires and having focus group discussions to gain in-depth understanding on the species. And when we met with the chief fisherman, he was okay. I mean, we went as a team. So it was myself, I think there was another lady and then two guys. So he was okay, everything, had a conversation. I was like, okay, we would arrange a meeting for this particular day. So when you are coming, come with your team and I'll get everyone ready and you can ask your question. So on the day we got there, and then it was time for us to speak. So when I was about taking the floor, he was like, oh, now then, so let me just speak clearly. I can just translate. He was like, oh, now then, oba be lidi adiwe na mema na omudi wechi no muwehe na ahadi emptiness out. So what that really means, maybe Anita, you can try and translate it into English.
I don't get it.
Yes. So he was like, oh, why is a woman leading this? We don't do that over here. I mean, it's a male-dominated society, and men take the lead. Men, I mean, advocate more for some of these things. For us to start any engagement, we need to get a man to do that. So for us to have a discussion that was fruitful, because we needed to head on to other villages. What we did was, fortunately for us, one of the team, the men on the team was familiar with the area. He was familiar with the topic and what we had to do. So, and he was a bit older, right? Older than the rest of us. So he had to do the introduction. And then once there were any questions, we just chip in. The ladies would just chip in and then address those questions. So that was it for me.
Wow. That's really interesting. So, before we continue, could you give us a brief summary or in a layman's understanding what conservation is all about for someone who doesn't really understand?
So biodiversity conservation is basically, so as the word is biodiversity. So bio means natural or biological. So the diversity of biology, so the diversity of the plants and animals that we have and the actions that we can all take to manage them effectively so that it is beneficial for the present generation and it doesn't cause harm for the future generation. So, for example, cutting down trees. I mean, tree species are part of biodiversity. So, if we cut down trees, we have to find ways of replenishing the trees that are cut so that the future generation can also benefit from trees and the benefits that it provides, including sequestering carbon dioxide.
Okay, great. And I think in your engagement as well, you did mention about circular economy.
Mm-hmm.
If you could also give us more light into that.
Okay, so circular economies, I usually like to make it very simple. So just like we have a circle. So what it means is that generally what a lot of economies or businesses do is the conventional linear economy. And what linear economy simply means, you extract from the environment. So for example, since we are talking in the context of plastic, so let's take, for example, you go into the natural ecosystem, you extract fossil fuels. And when I talk about fossil fuels, I mean coal and natural gas, and then you use this to produce plastic packaging or plastic product. And once you make it, people use it. So for example, let's say a plastic bottle. You have a plastic bottle, people consume the content and then they just discard it. So that's a linear economy. You take, you make, you use, and then you discard. But when we talk about a circular economy, what we are saying is that once I am done consuming whatever product that is in this bottle, I keep it in the economy. So what it means is that this product should have been produced or manufactured in such a way that I can keep it in the economy. So either I can reuse it. So this is a very durable container, the one I'm holding here. So what it means is that once I'm done consuming the product in this bottle, I can reuse it for water. I can keep other, once I'm done washing it, I can keep other products in it. And so as keeping the products in circle, it goes round and round. Either you are reusing, either you are recycling for as long as you can. That is what we call the circular economy. And it all begins with design, so durable design. Because once the product is durable, then you can keep it in the circular economy.
Great, thanks for that clarity on that. So assuming I have a pen, okay, where does it fall under? Because I think it has a plastic component. How can it be recycled?
Yeah, so so what
Yeah.
happens is, like I said, everything starts with the designer. So once you are done using the content, the ink, once the ink is done, rather than if it's made with a durable material, what happens is then there should be a system or a mechanism where once you are done using it, there's a system that collects it, or there's a system that enables the um, the the pen tube to be recycled and turned into another product. So once you have those kind of systems in place, it makes the product remain in the system and not being disposed of.
Great. So why have you this? Why are you so passionate about that and plastics management, circular economy?
Okay, so I think it's something that we should all be passionate about, not just myself. I think it's something that we all need to be passionate about. If you look at the issues surrounding plastic pollution, plastic is ubiquitous. If you go anywhere, you find them littered around. And let me add that now plastic pollution or pollution in general is part of those the key, we call them the triple planetary crisis. That means we have like three main crises that are interlinked. So what it means is that once you solve one, you can solve the other. And once we are able to solve all the three, then we can have a better environment or planet for all of us. And the triple biodiversity conservation, biodiversity loss, we have pollution, and then we have climate change. And for pollution or plastic pollution to be part of the triple planetary crisis, it means that it's a global concern, not just because of that, but the issues surrounding plastic management is quite complex and very challenging. And when you look at the impacts of improperly improperly discarding your plastics on the streets, it has a lot of, it causes a lot of challenges, especially health challenges. So when you look at the health challenges that is causing is when you dump your plastics or you litter your plastics in the environment, it leads to a lot of challenges which maybe we can discuss that later. But so I think it's something that we should all be passionate about, looking at the health impacts. I mean, there has been a lot of research on that, where there has been instances where the researchers have found that plastics, when you dispose them improperly and into the environment, it disintegrates into microplastics. So the microplastics are when the plastic is left or exposed to sunlight. So after a while, it disintegrates into very tiny pieces. And these pieces never go away, and they are called the microplastics. And there are instances where we found microplastic in fetus, we found it in other parts of other organs of the body, and it has been linked to other health issues, including cognitive development, brain issues, infertility, and some types of cancers. So I think it's something that we should all be concerned about, especially for Ghanaians who consume a lot of protein, as mainly fish, because once you discard your plastics into the environment, the end is our ocean. That's when they are not collected. And majority of the plastics that is generated in Ghana, so it is estimated that 9%, only 9% of the plastics that we generate every year as a country finds its way into the recycling space. So imagine there about 90% is either burned, dumped into our landfills, or find their way into the ocean. Once they find their way into the ocean, some marine organisms like fish that we consume, and then other marine animals mistake plastics for food. They consume them. Once they consume them, it deceives the animal that it's full, but technically the animal is not full, and after a while it suffocates the animal, or the animal may die of hunger. And if it doesn't even end up dying, for example, for the fish, when the fishermen go out to fish and they fish out these types of fish from the ocean, the end users or the end consumers are us, the people that put it out there in the first place. It's an issue that should be of concern to not just the policymaker, but every individual should be passionate about it, because that fish that you are consuming may cause you havoc, or that fish that you find may be your last meal for the year.
That's so interesting, to the extent that plastic can cause all this harm to our health, make women infertile. That's serious. So
Right, it's serious. It's a serious concern. Serious
it's a
concern.
very serious concern. And just to know that only 9% of the plastics can be recycled. What happens to the 91% then?
Yeah, so in Ghana, let me break it down. So in Ghana, we generate, as a country, we generate up to 840 tons a year, and each of us on this call generates at least 0.06 kilograms of plastics every day. And out of the 840 tons, 840,000 tons that is generated every year, 49% of that is collected. And what it means is that it's collected, but out of this, only 9% find their way into the recycling space. I hope we get it. So out of the 49 that is estimated to be collected, 9% of that find its way into the recycling space. And what happens to the rest? Yes. So if it's 49 that is collected and only 9% gets into the recycling space, what happens to the remaining percentage? So there are instances where if you look at the infrastructure that we have in Ghana, it's not all the types of plastics that we have here that are recyclable based on the facilities that we have. And because of low awareness, I wouldn't say lack of awareness, but because of low awareness, people don't really segregate their plastics. And there's all sorts of other reasons why people don't segregate, not just because they are not aware. But when you lump all your plastics together, it becomes contaminated. And once they become contaminated, it's very difficult to recycle them. So collectors or waste pickers would have to sort out those ones that haven't been contaminated. Those ones will find their way into the recycling space. And the rest that cannot be recycled, obviously, it ends up in our landfills where we burn them, or it's dropped somewhere along the street when it rains. The water just, sweeps it away, and we find them in our gutters, and the ultimate end is our ocean. So that's what really happens in the space currently.
There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of work to be done in that space. So I was just wondering, looking at how challenged we are in plastic management as a country, are there any new ways or innovative ways of going by it? And just to say, I know people would say that we take time to, let's say, segregate our trashes. So you have your plastic, you have your raw waste and everything. By the end of the day, when the waste trucks come, they end up mixing everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, so at what point, like, at what point? Because I truly do not get it. Because you take your time to do the segregation, and now those coming in for the garbages, it's just one truck,
Mm-hmm.
and everything is mixed again. So don't you think that work done in segregation is actually like zero to maybe to the other end?
Yeah, Anita, enlightening on something. Like, solely put the blame on anyone, but it all has to do with the systems we have in place. I mean, if have the right communication material, the right infographic, then they other countries have implemented, very sustainable systems that are working for them. And it's not just the education, but we have people that are willing to sort. I mean, they on their own go out there, they read about sorting, separation, they are passionate about recycling like some of us, but they do their segregation and there's no one to pick up. They call the few recyclers that we have in the space, but due to certain challenges, they are not able to offload some of these plastics. And sometimes the cost in moving from their location to where the individual may be based becomes something that is challenging. And apart from that, the way forward for us as a country, most people in the space keep advocating for, is that we need to have a scheme. So in the industry, we have something that we call the EPR scheme, which is the Extended Producer Responsibility Scheme. And before people started advocating for a mandatory EPR scheme, government, in its own wisdom, some years back, precisely, that was 2013, where they introduced the plastic recycling tax. So what happens with that is an excise duty tax where products that are brought in, that are imported into the country, pay a 10% excise levy on the product, and 50% of that tax was supposed to go into some of these recycling initiatives, acquiring bins for households and making sure that the system is working effectively as much as possible. And it's been several years down the line. Um, People in the private sector have criticized this fund because it hasn't been so effective as they assumed from the beginning when the tax was launched or issued in 2013. So along the line, government also thought it wise that, okay, aside this tax, which doesn't even cover all plastic producers, it doesn't cover everyone. So there are categories of producers that it covers. So if this doesn't cover everyone, let's come up with something that is more comprehensive that will bring all of us on board. So 2019, government introduced the National Plastic Management Policy, and that was to cater for sustainable management of plastics in the country. And in 2020, it was revised. It was revised to accommodate new findings and new recommendations. And in the same 2019, government also launched, we're actually the first country in Africa to join the Global Plastic Action Partnership. So we now have a local National Plastic Action Partnership, which has come up with a very comprehensive plastic roadmap for Ghana for the next next few years. And you can find that roadmap online to read more about it. So as part of the roadmap or actions outlined in the plastic, the National Plastic Action Partnership roadmap, having an EPR scheme where we are it's popularly called the polluter pays principle, where we are asking producers to cater for the entire life cycle of the plastics that they put out there. That means they are committing funds to collecting, to recycling, and making sure that the packaging, the plastic packaging or the plastic products that they put out there does not end up in our environment and causing all the flooding and the food gutters and the health problems that we have. So currently some interventions have been made with regards to the roadmap, and we are hoping that in the next few years we would have something that is very comprehensive, but aspects of it is being implemented. So we already have the resource center that is responsible for implementing the policy. We also have the circular economy hub that was launched by government to also support the initiative. And aside that, businesses and CSOs and social enterprises in their own small way are also embarking on innovative projects that are either reducing, recycling, or reusing the plastics that we find in the system. And the most interesting part is that we even have organizations that are finding alternatives to some of these plastics. So instead of having a plastic bottle, can we use paper? Can we use glass? So we have other businesses that are also looking into the alternatives for plastic recycling.
Yeah, that's an innovation right there. So what practical ways can we individuals, like let's say those of us on the platform, how can we manage our waste? How can we improve the challenges that the country is currently facing? And it's not just the country, like us, because even aside being the country, look at how this can go a long way to affect us as individuals, affect us as women, men, as individual. What are some of the practical steps we can take to actually mitigate some of these risks?
Yes, so we can start from the participants here. So I think individually, we all need to make our voices heard, and we all need to encourage people and to segregate or reduce the volumes that they consume. So, for example, sometimes you go out, you buy pure water, and then they put it in another plastic for you. And you are wondering, I mean, the thing is already packaged, but they put it in another polythene to carry away. You go out to buy a product, why not carry your own shopping bag? Go out to town to do your shopping. Why not carry your own shopping bag for the shopping? Or even if you don't have probably a very durable plastic bag, why not resort to the fabric made bags? And now people are even adopting sustainable lifestyles like carrying reusable bottles around. So rather than resorting to buying single use, if you can reduce that by carrying a reusable bottle to fetch water from the office, that will work really effectively at our offices where we can place dispenser bottles. Once you are tested, you go and you refill. And in the future, we are looking at possibly having water fountains because when you interact with people, it has also become a challenge that, okay, Ghanaians, our climate is very hot. Ghana is very hot. And people want to have readily available chilled water. And they're like, okay, I carry a reusable bottle for home with water along the way. It gets sunny and I mean, it gets to room temperature, and I don't enjoy drinking such type of water. So we are looking at the possibility of also having, if there's enough funding to look at putting fountains around and just encouraging people. I mean, if you look at the health issues, it could be you and it could be me, it could be someone close to you. So at the back of your mind for now, once we have the chance to, let's encourage ourselves to do the little that we can in our little space, reduce the volumes that we generate individually. And in so doing, we can all help to create that circular economy that we all wish to see. And also encourage others to, if you are willing, I mean, all of us must be willing, that if you find anything that is useful, it's a global world now. We have, yesterday I was reading somewhere that we have, I think, 5.3 billion people that are currently using the internet. So it's a powerful tool. So if you find any useful material, any relevant article on the plastic circular economy, on how we can all contribute to reducing the minutes. You can just reshare or you can copy the link, put it on a platform so that people can read and get informed about some of these things so that they can take action for it.
As she kept talking, I've just been thinking and been wondering. So this thing comes to my mind. So I'm just wondering, what about food put in plastics? Hot food put in plastics. Doesn't that give health implications? Like, does
Yeah,
it?
so so there has been studies that it's possible the plastic will leach into the food, especially when the food is hot. You know, for some of us that keep it in a plastic container, and when it gets cold, we need to warm it up. We don't empty it from a plastic container into maybe a ceramic bowl, but we just put it right into the oven with the hot um, bowl. There are chances that the plastic will leak into your food. And you know, for our mothers and for some of us, when we cook, it's very popular. People wrap their banku and their omutu into plastic rubbers. And um, when we get the opportunity to talk with people, we also encourage them to reduce that if possible. I mean, before plastics were introduced in Ghana, plastics got into Ghana, that was the early 90s. And before that, we were doing things the conventional way. So why not just mold your bamboo and put it in a bowl? I mean, small pieces into a bowl rather than putting them in the plastics rubber. Because at the end of the day, you are the one that is consuming it. It could cause health problems that will take so many years and drain you of all your cash.
This is really serious, honestly. Like my mind is just winding. Wow. So since you've been doing this for some time, you've embarked on quite a number of projects. Can you tell us one or two projects that have you have actually learned from that project? Like the impact has been very huge. And I'm actually looking at projects within the plastic waste, you know,
Mm.
around plastic waste. Yeah.
Yeah, so for someone that is loved working with younger people, especially kids, even during my days at Ghana Wildlife Society. And it's always a pleasure to work with younger people because it's, as the saying goes, catch them young and they'll be yours forever. And that enthusiasm for our young people is amazing. You should see how they are ready to take action, how they want to be innovative, even with the plastics that they put out there. They can make really innovative items like pencil cases, bottles for you use, vase, flower vase, and all sorts of interesting items from plastics. So for me, what's one of the things that keeps me going, and one of the projects that I would say has been very impactful in the space of um, the plastic circularity is working with younger people. So some just last year, it's still a project that is running where together with the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, we started a project that engaged with school children. So we're looking at basic schools, sensitizing them on the plastic waste menace, getting them bins, so not just sensitizing them, but at the end of the day, yes, they are aware what should they do. So we provide them with bins where they can drop their plastic vantage points in the schools that they can drop their plastics in. And the good part of this project is that after the plastic is dropped into the bins, we give the school the opportunity to make some cash out of the plastics where we connect them to recyclers who pick up the plastic and then pay the school for the plastics. And the cash goes into other school projects within the school and buying more bills to cover the entire school. And aside that, together with the CSI, we also developed a booklet for young people, but specifically teens. So the booklet is just showing them what the plastic um, circular economy is all about, the opportunities in the space. Because sometimes you talk to young people they're like, oh, this is not really a dignified space. I wouldn't really want to venture into it. But when you have uh, testimonials from people that have been through the system, you visit the schools with some of these people, and they get to interact with some of these renowned men and women that have excelled so well in the space, and you get them really interested to take up um, that as a career path. And you would there has been instances where we received a call. So one particular call that was very emotional for me was a dad called one day and was like, "Oh, my child came back from school and now he's asking us to segregate plastics and put it out there." We are wondering why, what's with the change. So they had to go to the school and they interacted because I think the child wanted the dad to start something at their church. So the dad was like, okay, let me get to the whole genesis of this. So he visited the school and they told him this is what has been happening in the school. He then got our contact and reached out to us that it's actually impacted on the way they go out to shop, because once the child's mother, as in his wife, is going out to shop, the child now acts as the police of the house. Mommy, mommy, don't take plastics, don't do this, don't do this. So it was quite interesting to have like that conversation with the dad some few months ago. And I think some of these things are what keeps us going, because it doesn't, when it comes to education and awareness, it takes time. People don't adopt or practice what you preach within a short space of time. It takes a while for people to understand the benefits and all that. So in this space, we always give people that patience, give them the patience to understand it better, to adopt gradually. It's not something that we are looking at you making very huge impact at the beginning, but you can start small. You can start very little. So someone who may not be able to reduce their usage of single use product. You can start small by educating others. You don't even have to talk. You can just share a post to inform others, put it on your status to get others aware of it. And it starts from there. Get involved in activities within the space. So we have World Environment Days. If identify, so you can just Google upcoming events on World Environment Day when it's approaching June, and then you can take part in some of these community initiatives. It's a good place to network, and it's a good place to meet other like-minded people like yourself and take it from there.
Really insightful, and to know that children or younger ones pick these and practices means that it's something good, and you have to actually continue. We all have to continue and roll out such projects, because as you said, the younger ones are the next generations, and they will pick things faster than adults. I believe it's become like a habit, so change is very difficult for most people. So as we are targeting the young ones, I mean, catch them young and they'll be yours forever. As you did say, it's good to know that some good works are being done. We all need to be encouraged. We all need to be, you know, we need to motivate ourselves in the things that we do together. So, Louisa, looking at all these beautiful things, now, one thing that comes to my mind, I'm just wondering, as a young lady, that you have your own personal life to live, you have your own social life to live, you have a professional life as well. And I mean, you need to get things done too. How are you able to juggle all these together and still, create an impact and still live and still be happy? How are you able to do it?
Yeah, so the interesting thing about my role is that, uh, interestingly, my role is also my passion. You get it? Sustainability is something that I'm passionate about, so it doesn't make it too difficult. But I would say juggling between that and personal life. You have friends, yeah, you have family, you have loved ones that you need to make time for, and even yourself. Um, I need to make time for myself to interact with new people, get to know new places, have fun. And for me, what I usually do, and I think most of us would attest to, because I'm sure a lot of us also do the same, is that uh, every day I set goals for myself. So early in the morning, or sometimes when I'm not able to do it over the weekend, I do it on a Monday, and then I just take it every other day. So I set goals for myself, and they are not just vague goals. They are goals that are realistic, goals that I know I can achieve by the end of the week. And I put them in a matrix, like a quadrant, where most of us are aware of the urgent and important tasks, the urgent and not important, the not important, not urgent, and then the not urgent but important tasks. So I'm able to segregate that, and by the end of the week, there are instances where I'm not able to accomplish everything. I mean, we are not all perfect, but I think that has helped me a lot, being um, strategic with my week and setting realistic goals that I know I can achieve by the end of the week, and making space for friends and loved ones as well.
That's a good stuff there. You seem to be very organized. So it
Not
keeps
really
you
organized.
it actually keeps you focused, looking at how you'd have to list out your to do, your activities, and all of that. I mean, it's another thing that we can also learn. So does anyone have a question? If you have a question, you may want to type it, or you may just want to raise your hand, and you can feel free to ask your question.
Yeah, Anissa, I think initially someone was raised. Yeah, too.
I was raised. She said someone's hand was raised, but I think we missed that. So if you have any question, so there's a shout out here to you, Louisa. Thank you, Louisa. Awesome insights shared. It's been very insightful. Kudos to this team. So unfortunately, Josephine had to leave the call. And Sebastian says it was a thumbs up. If you have any question, you could let us have it. And Louisa is all here. She's got all the knowledge.
Anita, any contribution? Maybe someone has a contribution to make.
Yeah, any contribution? Great presentation. Great. So it looks like everyone has gotten something, right? So Louisa, just to wrap it up, um, so in all, what would you tell us? Like, what would be your last words
Hi, good
for
evening.
today? Oh, hi. Good evening.
I was about typing, then when you said let's wrap it up, I just had to unmute myself to speak.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
We're happy to have you.
So I joined the meeting very, very late, but I have this question for our speaker or our guest. I saw on her profile that she's an experienced project manager, or she's experienced in project management. And I have interest in project management, but I don't really know how to go about it. Like maybe I can get certification from somewhere, or I can get the training from someone on how to be experienced in project management. I don't really think that's a question.
Yeah, Louisa, I think that this is for you because Louisa is a chartered PMP. So, Louisa,
Okay.
what guide do you have for her?
Yeah, so
Any
I
recommend?
think, yeah, I don't know background and if she's led in projects in her field, but for now, what you can do to enhance your knowledge in the spaces, um, give up your time. I mean, some and for sustainability platform, give up your time to some of these projects that you seek to embark on so that you can get some training and experience in project implementation when it comes to planning, to effectively plan your project and execute it on time. And, I mean, not just on time, but budget as well. And there are a lot of courses available. Sarah, find this on Udemy, it's on Allison, and you have so many YouTube videos that can help you if you are a beginner, help you on the principles and processes of project management because they're about acquiring, getting a certification, PMP, that you should have number of years. So, for example, if you are a degree holder, you should have at least 36 months of implementing or leading a project. And if you don't have to be a good start to volunteer for certain roles that you find community, online roles and other NGOs that may be embarking on some of these community projects to enhance knowledge in the space. But aside that, if you need further details on how you later will share my details with you. I think you can start from the free online programs. So I'll share the links to some of the online programs that you can take to start your journey.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you got it. So what we can also do is to link both of you so that you can actually learn because from one thing that Louise also said from her engagement is she had a role model and that was her lecturer who advised her on the way to go. So I believe that role modeling is also one area we need to look at. If you really want to go into an area, you look at someone who has been in that space before to guide you and to help you. So I'm really happy you came up with that. That means you've read, you paid attention to the details, and something also interests you aside the plastic waste, which I mean is good and it's the way to go. So thank you very much. Ebu Bechuku. And thank you so much to Louisa. So, what will be your closing remarks for today's edition?
Okay, so my closing remarks. I know this may sound funny. I think for us, the whole message is that when you see something, do something about it. For example, you sit in a car and you see someone, a passenger next to you, dropping plastics out. You need to caution the individual. If he's done it already, you can just educate him, make him understand that next time, just keep it with you, or you can drop it in the car. When they get to their destination, the bus conductor will just clean it up. So when you see something, just do something about it. I think that will be my closing remark for all of us.
Thank you once again. Thank you so much, Louisa, and thank you all of you for joining today's third edition. And I would want to say a very big thank you to our supporting partners, 10 Billion Strong, their leadership development organization focused on environmental sustainability. You can look out for them. They give out scholarships for you to study for free. Wiki updates, a very big thank you again for hosting us. We are very grateful. And Wiki Green Initiative, they are organizers for Wiki Green Conference. You can look out for them as well and join their conference. It's very educative. If you haven't followed us yet on Facebook, kindly follow us for Women for Sustainability Africa. Look out for us on LinkedIn as Women for Sustainability Africa, on Twitter, Women for Sustainability Africa. We have a WhatsApp page where we keep everyone informed and posted on activities that we host. So if you haven't joined our page yet, you could just drop a message in the chat box and we'll be happy to connect with you after today's program. So thank you all once again. A very big thank you to all of you who have joined to make this successful. Louisa, thank you very much. We can't thank you enough for sharing such insightful knowledge with us and for all of you spending this time with us. Thank you very much. Let's all come together to run these projects. Let's come together to create the awareness of plastic waste management and how we can keep ourselves from our body from being polluted, meaning like from getting sick and all of that. We all stay healthy, and I'll see you in our next session. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
The King of Subada, 2021 and beyond. Tomorrow is far for us to deal with climate change. For a better tomorrow, let's act today. Our lives depend on environment, but we're destroying all our environment, inviting a serious calamity, which is a threat to food security. So we have to see this as an emergency and deal with it as a matter of urgency, with all our might and energy, so we can save the African community. Action now, let's take action now. Action now, climate action now. Action now, the better time is now. Tomorrow is far for us to deal with climate change. For a better tomorrow, let's act today. Our lives depend on environment, but we're destroying all our environment, inviting a serious calamity, which is a threat to food security. So we have to see this as an emergency and deal with it as a matter of urgency, with all our might and energy, so we can save the African community. Action now, let's take action now. Action now, the better time is now. Action now, climate action now. Tomorrow is far for us to deal with climate change. For a better tomorrow, let's act today. Our lives depend on environment, but we're destroying all our environment, inviting a serious calamity, which is a threat to food security. So we have to see this as an emergency and deal with it as a matter of urgency, with all our might and energy, so we can save the African community. Action now, let's take action now. Action now, the better time is now. Action now, climate action now. The King of Subada, this is a serious matter, but it seems we know the border. We don't have to wait for a disaster before we spend money to recover. Come on, I think we can do better. We have to move with others on the ladder. My brother, this is not about government in power. We all came to meet clean water that you can drink even without a filter, but we are handing over the one which you like a gutter. Climate effect is very devastating. Let me ask the leaders of our nation, do we have plans for mitigation? If so, what about adaptation? At least we have to think about the next generation. Let's give them hope and something for celebration. All our water bodies are drying up, which is affecting our ecosystem. Have you thought of actions on the environment? In case you don't know, there is an effect for destroying the planet. This This is not the time to blame others. Do your best and make us do the rest. We all have a role to play, so day by day make sure say you don't go astray. Let us stop the pollution, CO2 emission and the land degradation. There should be a lot to protect the ocean. Force individuals to plant trees and also keep the beaches clean. In order for us not to disappoint ourselves, let's move to green economy so that now in the future we can happily do our daily activities. The king of Subada have spoken. It is up to the world to listen. Tomorrow is far for us to deal with climate change, for a better tomorrow. Let's act today. Action now, let's take action now. Action now, climate action now. Action now, the better time is now.